That's call meeting to order. Kelly, can you do a roll call?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. District 1, Councilman Rios.
Present.
District 2, Councilman Pastor.
Present.
Welcome back. District 3, Councilman Latham.
Present.
District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilman Gonzalez.
Here.
District 6, Councilman Chipley.
Here.
Mayor Demaros.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Shelley. Chief Robinson, can you give us an invocation, please?
Very fun to be encouraged. The blessing we have to be able to live in this land, for the freedoms that we have. We're grateful for this community and for those who serve. We're grateful for this body that has taken their time to work to address the issues within the community and to be of service to their fellow citizens. We ask that that blessing be with them as they deliberate this evening. Please watch over and bless the families represented here, keep those our community safe and those who serve the community safe. These things we pray for in the name of Jesus
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Little summary of current events. Mariana, we'll start with you.
I've been traveling a lot around for various reasons, and I noticed a couple things. It's cold in the morning here in Globe, and then it warms up really nicely in the afternoon. Question, you've got strange weather. I've seen wildland fire in the last 10 days. We've got just weather events that are occurring right out of sync. Be careful out there on your use of heaters, especially space heaters. Use the old rule about not having anything within 3 feet of a space heater can cause a fire real fast. There's conditions out there as well in the forest. Very, very dry. So be careful out there. But I've had a good time shopping furniture for my parents around Mesa and Chandler, Gilbert. So it's been a busy month and a half. But, it's always good to be back in Louisville. Thank you.
Thank you. Fernando?
I have nothing to report.
Ready?
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to say.
Mike, good to see you back.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it. It was a long 4 months for me, and I'm glad to be back.
Jesse?
I don't have anything to report, thank you, Mayor.
I just have a few things, Mayor. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for First Friday. Once again, a huge success. You get down there, there's so many people that you just end up losing track on how consistent it is and getting growing every single month. So thank you to everybody that participates in that. I know the list is huge. So thank you guys. And then the other thing I do have is the holidays are upon us. Thanksgiving is next week already, which is crazy. But my restaurant again is doing our annual Thanksgiving dinner on Thanksgiving Day from 10 to 2. Anybody's welcome. Last year I did, I want to say 280 people. So I ended up cooking like 15 turkeys and 200 pounds of potatoes and so on and so forth. But the more the better is what I'm trying to say. So if you know anybody that is lonely or just wants to eat really good food, come on. That's all I have there. So thank you.
Thank you,
And
Mike.
it's free too, by the way.
That's great. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I just want to mention, I really don't have anything, but I know we had the passing of Mike Howe. I don't know if a lot of you know, he was, back when even I started in 1980 with Central Heights Volunteer Fire Department. He turned in being the fire chief in the 80s. I was his assistant chief. So he put a lot of years as a volunteer with the fire department there, and he passed away this past 2 weeks, I think it was. So just wanted to mention, him, passing, just thinking of his family. That's all I have.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, we had the celebration of Veterans Day on the 10th for the city, but 11th nationally. That was the little bit of a break for all the efforts and excitement and things going on in the city. Just wanted to make a shout out on December 2nd, Saturday will be the Festival of Lights out of Pesh, and then on December 9th, Light Parade. So mark your calendars for those, along with, of course, Turkey Day. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
Thank you, Paul. Next, we go to a community call of the public. This is the time when anyone wishing to speak to the council can do so. You fill out a speaker card either online or in person here, and you can speak. Your time limit is 3 minutes, and we cannot respond to you during community call to the public, but we can direct the staff to follow up with. So I do have a first one here. I have Stephen Palmer.
All right, Mayor, Council, thanks for giving me this time to address you. So really, I'm just here on a good accord. On the behalf of the disc golf community of Arizona and also for our town, I just want to thank you all for opening a disc golf park at the community center. I feel like the location that was chosen has really become ideal and has become a draw among the state. Over this last year, I've spent quite a bit of time playing disc golf tournaments over the year. I've been in 16 different ones, and part of that driving force wasn't just to go and play, but was to see what disc golf is and what people are doing in the rest of the state and what we can do with that part in our community. And I have lots of great ideas that can be further shared when there's more time to share it. But touching on just a few things, we've had I've been writing it down. There's an app that you can track it for people I've met. I've met over 56 different people using the course throughout this year. We've had a league event where we had 12. We started out with just 5 and we moved up to 12 different players from this community who were out there getting exercise, enjoying the park. And at that same time, we also had another 6 members from Safford and Coolidge join us to come up to Glow. So not only am I thankful, like I said, on behalf of our community, but for the community of Arizona. And I just wanted to give a big thank you to you guys for taking that leap of faith, for going with us. We're working with the Kathy Kanyas Foundation on educating people about flash flood and wash safety. So we're doing everything we can. When concerns come up about it, we want to address those head on, turn problems into opportunities, and help disc golf to be something that brings something like someone like me who used to play football, got too old, can't compete anymore. All of a sudden there's a sport I can go out there and bring home a second place trophy. So again, all I really want to say with this is just thank you. Thanks to the staff, John Angulo and all of the Public Works for all the help that they've done. We're just steps away from having the course fully installed. We'll have an event at the end of December, something like a softball tournament would have. We've already paid the fees and everything for the field. Because as a disc golf community, we want to show to the town that we are an asset and we will pay our way and do as much work as we can. And to the public, I would like to say, please visit Ice House Canyon. It's right below the T-ball fields. It's not quite a walking trail yet, but you'll see that it's become quite a lovely park. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. I have no more cards. Do you have any online?
We do have Miss Sherry Rice online. Sherry, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me all right?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I recently attended a Citizens Academy session, and one of the topics was home rule. After hearing the presentation, it appeared to me that the city of Globe would benefit from the permanent base option for home rule adjustment. Therefore, I'm suggesting that you investigate and discuss the possibility of adding this option onto the ballot of the upcoming Globe election. Thank you for this consideration. Also, I'd like to congratulations to the participants of the 2023 Fall Session Citizens Academy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry. Is that all you have?
Yes, that's all we see. Email and everything.
Next, we have special presentations, and item 3A is on behalf of the Globe City Council, we'll present the 2023 Fall Session Citizens Academy participants with graduation certificates, and we have Lisa and Eric will be coming up and speaking.
Okay, ready? Mr. Mayor, members of council, so far, since we've had the Citizens Academy going on and the cook-off contest, the leagues have been really tough to usurp from their championship events. However, this time it was an extremely close vote, and it required another vote as a tiebreaker. And without further ado, we would like to present to Public Works that Citizens Academy chose you this round.
That was big.
They chose ribs, one of
Even a blind squirrel.
All right, and next up we have Mr. Scammell. He's going to give a presentation on behalf of this fall Citizens Academy first.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and community members all. When the opportunity to learn new things is presented, it would be folly to ignore it. We were presented with such an opportunity and we took it. As members of class number 5, Globe Citizens Academy, we were fortunate to meet the people who are the heart and the workings of the city of Globe. We met the people who perform the tasks of the city, which are often overlooked in our daily lives. It was worth the investment of our time. The police and fire department stand ready 24 hours a day to serve our needs, often at the risk of their own safety. The city works department tolls faithfully, sometimes in adverse weather, to ensure we, the citizens, can live in comfort. We learned of the department that provides support for our seniors, a department that had direct run functions that increase our tourist appeal, and a library department that provides more than a repository for rare books. We met city staff and administrators to ensure that all necessary planning and interaction with state and federal agencies is completed in a timely manner. We met with city council members that work together to respond to the needs of the community and setting short and long-term goals for the welfare of the people of Globe. We saw and heard things that often go unnoticed, yet are necessary for our daily lives. Things necessary to ensure that we continue to be safe and secure. As in any community, there are those who question and challenge the actions of the city staff. Let them join the next class and see what we have seen. Therefore, we encourage every citizen of the Globe to step forward, invest your time, and partake in the Citizens Academy. For what we have learned, we thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, and now for all the participants who graduate tonight. We're going to start off with Marie Hanna. She's one of our own from our finance department. Maria, congratulations. Next up, we have Anthony Toner. William Jocelyn. Bonnie Stidham. Jesse Robertson. Tammy Grenier. James Yostrom. And once again, Joseph Scammell. And Marcia Scammell.
Squish.
You good? Everybody up. We say cheese.
We're having a great time. Yes, we are. We graduated. Yeah. Awesome. Woo!
Congratulations to all of you. Thank you for putting in the time to learn more about our city. We really appreciate it. Item B, we have resolution copper project update. We have Dave Richens, Senior Manager of Community and Social Performance.
Mayor and council, it's always a pleasure to come and visit the fair city of Globe. Had great Mexican food here as usual. I mean, can't eat it, not on a Tuesday apparently, but we had last week we had our CEO of Copper Group here in town visiting last week and enjoyed some great meal and was able to visit with a few local folks here. We get the big stuff out of the way. We know nothing about the progress of the project outside of waiting for a Ninth Circuit court ruling. So we're still waiting for that for our the EIS probably will be published before that court ruling is issued. It could happen any day. It could happen who knows when. So don't have a lot of good news on that front, but we have other good news because we're still continuing to be active in your community and in our hiring. We still have a lot of work to do despite the delays in that permitting. The first thing I want to touch on is we spent since 2020 over $19 million in your community with local suppliers and contractors, people like Automatic Construction, Downland Excavating, Jonovich. Yeah, they misspelled it. That's why I don't know. No end. Western Reaper Graphics and others. And that's just slightly under what we spent in the town of Superior. So Globe is our #2 destination for spending money. So we also kicked off this year a supplier capability assessment. So we're evaluating all the different suppliers that are in the copper corridor to try to focus as much spend possible locally as we get ready to launch this project. So we were able to hire 20 new local apprentices. So we're trying to drive more job creation in this area. So most of those, I think 18 out of 20 were local from the area or from San Carlos. And so really excited to have them in our workforce now. Let's see, we have a labor agreement for our construction phase with the Arizona Building Trades that includes the IBEW chapter out of Globe. So wanted to make sure we highlighted that. Doing quite a few strategic with your community as well. We have a 3-year partnership with the Gila House Domestic Violence Shelter. That particular organization is very near and dear to our team in resolution. It's a big issue that we know needs a lot of attention. Anna leads our fundraising for Gila House. We try to work with spend as much as we can to support their efforts. Very important organization. We have long-term partnerships with Arizona Highways Television, which helps promote the Globe Miami area. You may have seen some of those, pieces that they've run, and always support the local restaurants and trailers and all kinds of different places here in the area. So really trying to make sure we keep our spend as local as possible. In Miami, we did some funding with Boyan Plaza to help redo the bathrooms there, to make it a little bit more palatable for the rural policy forum that was held there this year, and help with some hot water heaters there as well. As you know, Globe Miami are both eligible for our corporate giving funds. We're excited to announce that in 2024, we're pumping up the amount of money we have available. So encourage local organizations to apply for your projects and events and fundraisers. We'd like to participate in that as much as we can. We've helped with the Globe Miami Chamber Golf Tournament, the Camaraderie, Globe High School Football Combine, Gila County Water Festival, of course the Gila Community Food Bank. I love the food bank. It's one of my favorite causes. Some of you may have known that I served for a time as the CEO of United Food Bank, and we serve both the Superior Food Bank and the Gila Community Food Bank. So something that I always try to continue to focus on. It's a big need in all of our communities, unfortunately. We helped with Gila Proud, Gila County STEM Fest, STEM Summer Camp, Old Dominion Days, Miami Fiesta, Miami Car Show, Miami Stairs Restoration Project, amongst others that we supported. We have our employees that serve as board members for local organizations as well, with Anna serving on a number of organizations. I'm sure you see her quite a bit in your community. She stays very busy. And we also have Wendy Stanfeld, who serves as the president-elect of the Globe Rotary. So the last thing I want to hit on is just thanking you guys for the opportunity to come and interact with your community and with your council. It's a pleasure for us to have you included in our stakeholder group. We feel Globe is a very important component of the success of our project, and we enjoy, and we're grateful for the support that we've enjoyed from this community. So with that, one last thing I wanted to thank you guys for. We reached out to a lot of the communities for some letters of support. The last time we were making a push at getting our EIS published, and we enjoyed great support. We had, I think, 23 local officials sign on to the letter. We appreciate that. It makes a difference, because sometimes our opponents say that people locally don't support mining and support these projects, but it doesn't know that you very much. We appreciate it. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Question?
I have a couple of questions. Dave, you mentioned your workforce, you hired 20 more. What's the size of the workforce now at the Resolution?
300, and 80% are within a 40-mile radius.
Wow. And several years ago, I was fortunate enough to take a ride down to the bottom of the new shaft, and there was talk of going over to the old shaft.
Yes, that work's complete. So we have the number 9 shaft is now sunk to the same depth as number 10, and they are connected underground at several levels. So we're doing some preparatory work. The next step would be twin drifts that would go out towards the ore body, so we can kind of do some more underground characterization. We've drilled a lot of it, but not all of it. So as you know, in the mineral withdrawal area, we've never been able to drill, so we don't know exactly what's there. But yeah, we're ready to go when we get funding or permission to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
No further questions.
Fernando?
Well, I kind of know the answer, but I thought it was, I serve on a Superior Working Group, and I know that you guys put together a matrix for how to buy local, how to hire local, and spending money developing the future workforce that you're going to require. So, I don't know if you wanted to share any more about how you guys.
Yeah, that's a big part of our, thank you, Councilmember Shipley. That's a big part of our supplier capability assessment and workforce study. So we'll be launching in 2024 a new workforce study to really understand the demographics and the skill sets that are here, and really trying to focus. Our focus as a CSP team with ANA is on workforce development and STEM education. So when we make investments in the local schools, we try to invest in stuff around the STEM education. And so this year, we just finished a little bit of budget work. We're hoping to engage the civic organization a little bit more to make some investments there. I think that's a great organization to work for us. We also in Superior just helped us with a small renovation at the old high school where the Superior Town Hall is moving, I think in the next couple of years, to put a small welding program there too. So welders are always in need. I've got a soft spot for welders. I have a son at welding school right now. He graduates in December and he already has 4 job offers, so I'm gonna be off the hook from raising that kid. I mean, always on the hook to raise it, but financially, I might get a little relief, so. But yeah, welders are always in huge need, and so, a lot of organizations have invested money to help build those programs, and they're gonna need, so people, every welder that gets patients will get those. Yeah, great question.
Mr. Mayor? I've said this before at other meetings with your corporation and your personnel. You all have been tied to this community 10 years now, sir. I admire your fortitude and your will to go on, and I really mean that. You could have walked away at any time, and yet here you are again offering more resources to these communities. And so I really feel humbled with your corporation's fortitude and willing to stay in the game. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilmember Gonzalez. I really appreciate that, and we're hoping that this is a harbinger of much bigger things to come. When we get under construction, we'll be 3,700, not 300, and really wanting to focus on sharing those benefits locally. Let's build these economies. Let's put people to work that want to work. Let's support those that are disenfranchised or don't have what they need in our senior centers and our schools, and strengthen all of it together. And I hope that as we build this mine alongside your community, we're able to do that and really set an example to other mining companies that are in this community to stand with us, to do it together. And I don't say that to criticize anything that they're doing, but we want to set the bar very high, and we hope that everyone will strive to reach it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, thank you for your presentation. As you move forward, hopefully one day get that approval with EIS. As we prepare for the future too, because indirectly we're gonna get some of those housing and requests in our community. That's gonna be huge for us too. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that Dave is also a recovering
Yeah. Thanks for outing. Yeah, I'm 80 years sober now, so.
Next, we have item C is presentation by Tri-City Regional Sanitation District regarding location of proposed wastewater treatment plant, discussion of designated management area, DMA amendment, and possible intergovernmental agreement on provision of services.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I was going to invite Mike Krebs, the project manager, to come up and do a short presentation on the location of the new site. And then we'll go into a little detail about the request to amend the DMA and the future IGA that we're looking at. But Danny, if you can put the presentation up, and who has the button to advance? So, Mike? Okay, so Mike, there should be a clicker there.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you about exciting news for Tri-City with the location of the treatment plant finally getting nailed down. I'll walk through a little bit. I think I have 5 slides here that won't take a few minutes to walk through. So just again, Tri-City's been around, emerged in 2011. The project's been split up in 3 phases. It's been, so early on, before the 2018 PER was put together and submitted to USDA, or 17, late 2017, we had actually looked at 8 different sites for a treatment facility. And I think I would even be fair to say that we probably looked at a few more and just eliminated them right away. And we had a site that was set up in the PER that was submitted to USDA. And it was a good site, but that's when that BHP with the solitude tailings, I'm sure you all understand and know all this on with the tailings and the massive project that they're taking on there. And they came to the district and said, you know, we're sorry, but we have this work to do here and you cannot have the site. So since that time period, which I think was early 2019, we have been searching diligently for a site. And so we had looked at a few different sites since then, and some were better than others, and we just kind of never gave up because we just didn't feel like we ever found the correct site. And so, so the site that we have is actually at the very top of the top green box at the very top of the project. And I'll show you a little, it'll be a closer up of that so you can really tell a little bit better where that's oriented. And just to kind of tell things a little bit about it, there is, it's hard for me to point because it goes right through the TV, but obviously the city of Globe comes into the district and there's some overlap there. And so the area that we're looking at is north of that, is not in the city. And it's actually outside of the district at this point. And the site is being added to Tri-Cities DMA. So with the new treatment plant site, we had to submit an amendment to CAG to update the 208 amendment. And CAG has that, that's already been submitted with our site. And so, you know, we're ahead of the curve on that one. The couple of things about that, or at least one big thing is that because all of that flows north, it was difficult if we had the plant south to get the flows from that north end, like Wiles on the Trail and that area, back to the south. So now the way it's set up is everything flows to that site. So it'll be gravity and it'll make things easier with phase 3, which is the part north along 188. And then so that you can see here is the site is a little bit closer. It is bordered on the east by State Route 188, and there's a big curve in the road there, and right before you cross the tracks, there are, if you look closely, you can see two old water basins, and they were original storage basins for the Bixby, the old Bixby pump station. And so when that went out of service, you know, they were there and they still exist there, and that's the area that we're looking at. So we're bordered on the west by the railroad tracks and on the right by State Route 188. And it's about 8 acres, and we have looked at the floodplain there, and it's obviously on the very edge of the plain of the Miami Wash. We've been working closely with Gila County. We've completed a flood study, and we've submitted to them for a use permit, floodplain use permit. And so again, we've been working closely with them and don't see really any issues for that. A portion of that is not in the floodplain because there are barns that are built up for the two basins. We are also in the process of doing a rezoning. That was zoned, it's kind of an odd zoning, but it's a TR-D, it's like transitional residential. But just to the west of that, the property where the Cattlemen's Association has their facility, that's an M3. And that's what we're actually changing this parcel to, an M3. That's what we're trying to get done. And again, that's in progress, and we're working with the county to get that done. We actually had a on-site meeting with the zoning, and there were a few people that showed up, but really had no complaints or anything along that line. Other thing that's nice about the site, it has access to power, communication, and water. They're all in that area. So red line is the line that we would bring in for the sewer. And, the water line is pretty close into there. I was gonna get with Freddie at some point. Jason's helped me out with that a lot, so your staff's been great, thank you. And then the green is actually gas line, so we have to be aware of that's up there, so. And power runs kind of along the same line as where the gas line is. So, that's that part of it. And so I have, we've created just to help visualize this for everyone, computer animation to just kind of help everybody be able to take a look at, see what it looks like if you were driving north on 188. I'm not sure how do you need to push? There should be a little arrow at the bottom of it to.
Shelley, can you? Danny, are you doing that?
We ended the slideshow, so I'm restarting it.
Well, Danny's gonna trigger it.
There it is again. There you go.
There we go. Thank you, Danny.
Well, that's kind of an aerial that comes back. You can see the access road there on the left. It's white. In this, it's actually asphalt, old asphalt. Now you're on 188 heading north. And the tanks are set in about at least as much as we know today that they'll be set in at the site. And you can see how the tanks are there for the treatment facility.
Question? So all the treatment will be taking place inside the buildings, and you don't have like those ponds that they have?
Well, they look like buildings, but they're tanks. And there won't be ponds, like what was there before, lagoons, that will do the treatment. It will all take place inside these tanks.
And then all the effluent is going, I assume, to the mines if I want the water?
That is something that is, the mines are very interested, and the district's working through all that with the mines, and, so it should be a good thing. I think anytime we can not pump out additional groundwater and keep that in there for that, for public use and reuse the water in those situations, I think is a good thing. So it's quite a valuable resource. So that's really all I have to show. I didn't want to take up too much time, but if there's any questions.
Any questions?
I have another question. So the one question I get a lot, and because people think I know them and I don't know, but is why didn't you guys just hook up to the Miami existing treatment facility? Another something that happened years back. Because everybody's wondering why we're building another one when there's one.
Yeah. It's quite a long story, and I'm not even sure this is the best venue to talk to that, but be happy to meet with you and go through all that. I don't know, Robert, if you want to add any.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Robert Jacques, the TRSD board president, is here. If you'd like him to address that question or any other questions.
Whatever you're at liberty to say, that's the most common question I get. Why are we building another one when there's one right there?
May I come up?
Yes, please, so that.
You're taking a big chance. You don't ever want to give me the mic. I have friends. I don't have any friends anymore because I have talked a lot. I think Mike said it very well. It is a long, complex story. Started back in 2013. Briefly, the district, the board, spent 3 years negotiating with the town of Miami in an attempt to utilize their facility. After 3 years, there had been very little progress. And at the direction of rural development, we were instructed, this is before my time, so what you're hearing is secondhand. It's what I've read, what I've investigated. We were advised by IRT to go in a different direction. ultimately that has led to us taking the path to construct our own water reclamation facility. It's a great benefit to the residents of the district. We have, I'm a member, I'm a resident. We have control over our own destiny. We are going to do nothing except treat wastewater, generate A+ effluent, which we will make available to the mines. We will make available for reuse and reducing the impact of pumping groundwater. So that's really how it all manifested itself, Councilmember Shipley. It's been a difficult task, and I marvel at the path resolution has taken. They've been struggling for 10 years trying to get this mine off the ground, facing innumerable obstacles. We've kind of been in the same position. And we feel like, we feel as if we will be a great benefit to the community. We're in an unincorporated area. We have this whole area has a shortage of housing. You heard from resolution that look from all the FMI looking for housing. When our system goes online, people will be able to construct houses on lots which are not constructible now because they're too small for on-site systems. So we think ultimately we serve a benefit. We're taking 350,000 gallons of water a day, which is being injected through on-site systems into the groundwater with all the environmental concerns there are. We will capture that, we will treat that, we will generate an A+ effluent, which will be available for reuse, thereby reducing the amount of groundwater pumpage by the mines. So I think it's a win-win situation for everybody, but it's been a long, hard road.
I'm sorry, so another question. I assume you're gonna build in excess capacity in this system? Do you know about how much excess capacity?
I think, Mike, we're talking about ultimately 500,000 gallons a day. Yes, and the plant will be expandable. Right now, it will be constructed to handle 350,000 gallons a day, ultimately up to 500,000, and who knows beyond that. Because there is certainly room for growth in this region. When you look out going to the north and all the land out there, the possibilities are very bright for this area, and the plant will sustain that.
Thank you. Mr.
Go ahead, Marty.
At the time when this grant was awarded, I lived in Claypool. And curiosity drew me out to some of the meetings on behalf of a sister-in-law who wanted to know what the cost was going to be for hooking on to the new system. What I found was, I guess you would call it a windfall. At the time, there was more than adequate funding to do all aspects, including design and engineering and then installation. And I don't really need to know numbers tonight. My only question is, has there been anything that has decreased the amount of available grant funding to do the entire project? At the time, I basically said, you all have won the lottery. You should do what you need to do, connect it, and get it done. And I was very, very happy at the time to hear that. Has anything changed in the amount that you'll need for financing or the amount that you need to do overall project?
That's a really good question. The first thing I will say is, talking in general dollars, the original project cost was about $70 million. And Mike, you jump in at any time. $70 million for all three phases constructed. Of that, about $32.5 million was to be loan monies. The balance of that was grant funds.
Yes.
I think as we're all aware, the cost of everything has gone up in the last 3 or 4 years. The good thing about the project, the positive thing about the project for me is, regardless of the increase in cost, the loan dollars are fixed so that residents are somewhat isolated from the increase in cost. Therefore, it's incumbent upon the board and our advisors to look for increased grant funds. Now, we can put that back on RD. They let us into this project. They are going to fund this project, but we are actively, and Mike is the driver. We are working with a multitude of state and federal agencies looking for the additional grant dollars we will need to complete this project. So the loan monies are fixed. All the additional costs will be funded through grant dollars. So that's where have I answered that question?
Thank you.
It is a challenge, and you all face this every day as the city of Globe because everything increases in cost. The name is, it's hard work. We have to go out and look for those dollars, and we are under the direction of Mike, who has taken this on. This is not in his purview, but he has taken this on to establish contacts with agencies, both federal and state. And we are also actively looking for support. We have no lobbyists. We have no Washington presence. We are doing this with 5 board members and a great advisory staff. We intend to change that and become much more visible in DC, because that is really required. You have to be there and in their face. Otherwise, we are just another project. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mike?
What's the timeline of the project? Where are we at? Because you guys have been working on it 10 years now.
Yes, we have. Well, I haven't been. I've only been on the board since September 2020. And I admire the people on the board who have been there longer than I have. The timeline of the project, I am somewhat optimistic that we will go out for construction bids, advertised for construction first quarter of 2024. And begin construction on the collection system part of the project. All the piping that gathers the discrete wastewater and takes it to the plant. There is optimism we will advertise for bids, and God willing, we will begin construction beginning the second quarter of 24 on phase 1 collection system, to be in operation with phase 1 probably late third, fourth quarter of 26. And then the second and third phases will follow beyond that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have a couple of comments or questions. And I know Mike, and I've been on this, following this since, 2012, 2013.
Yeah, I started in July of 2012.
Has been, and I was there through that phases, going to meetings when there was negotiations with Miami, and I know those were cut off all through those timeframes. I mean, this is needed. We need infrastructure sewer in Claypool Central Heights area. It's a must. It's economic development, it's housing. I think the ultimate question, I think what maybe Mariano was alluding to, is the ultimate thing is, what is the cost to the consumer? They really don't care whether Miami provides it or whether Tri-City provides it. It's the ultimate cost. What's going to be my monthly usage fee, and what's going to be my monthly taxes on the amount of money that's borrowed from there. I think that's the ultimate question. We don't disagree that we need sewer. We need sewer there. We definitely do. And it's been a long time coming. So I think that's kind of I think back then is what we wanted to know. I know it's cost up. I know how much was given. I think $28 million originally and everything for that. And what does that cost now in these time frames?
Is that a question you're asking right now?
Yeah.
So we have estimated that the actual phase 1 could increase as much as 14 million. So, and that's just That's just based off of using updated, unit prices and applying them to the quantities and things like that with phase one. So, a lot of it depends upon when it goes out to bid, pricing and all that stuff. I know things have settled a little bit, piping a little, and 80% of the project, 85% of the project is pipe in the ground, so that's the good news.
And the original 28 million, was that a grant, full grant, or is that a loan?
No, it was, split between the two. It's, 16 million grant, 12 million loan.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, one of the things we have to realize is the loan and the payback on the loan impacts the cost to the user. I think when in talking with Tri-Cities Sanitation, getting more grant funding, getting more federal dollars for the construction will cover that increased 12 million, and will not impact the projections, at least because of additional debt service for the cost. So that's why it's so important that they do a good try at trying to get federal dollars, additional federal dollars, as USDA promised. I think, Mayor, you and I were at that meeting where USDA said, if there is a gap, then we will come with more forgivable, and that will hold the prices constant. I think we need to hold the federal government and USDA Rural Development to that commitment. It was 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now, but nothing's changed. The federal government doesn't like to put all this money in and then see it blow up because of a gap. No one does. And so we saw that with the state, where we went back and said, hey, our costs have gone up and you got to come to the table. They have. We've been talking about how to do an aggressive, campaign. That had a conversation with Robert about, he asked me, it's like, Mayor had a lot of listings of things that we've gotten from the federal government. How did he do that? And so we shared some strategies, and I think they're going to embrace that. So if they can do the work and get the help and get more forgivable money, more grant funds, more earmarks, then that will help protect those costs and make sure it's not passed along to the user.
One more question, Mike. That's the first time I've seen the map as far as where the lines go. Are you also working with ADOT? It appears you're gonna go underneath Ford and
Yes.
line and go
Yes.
up to the east side of the highway 188?
Yes.
So obviously, it's all ADOT, right
Yeah.
away?
We'll have actually 3 crossings with ADOT, 1 on US 60 and 2 on 188. And so it's important for us on 188 to go up the east side so that we can collect all of that, all the residents and the businesses along the east side. There really isn't much on the west side at that point. So that's in part and parcel of, as I said, about phase 3 being a little more cost effective now, because that pipe will be put in phase 1. Most of it will be.
Maybe. Very good.
Yeah, so, when you factor, the cost now today, and if in fact it plays out, that the infrastructure, the facility does capture more residents, more buildings, more, users, what impact do you see with the current rate base then? Do you see a reduction in rate costs, or is it going to be something that would just keep the future growth going at a lesser cost?
Right. Obviously, if you have more users, and if you just talk about the debt amount, if the debt stays constant, so that $12 million loan I mentioned has an interest rate of 2 3/8. It's pretty nice right now, and so that will stay consistent. And the more you can spread that out, the less it's going to be for everybody. So adding more users, businesses that come in, and all of that is going to impact. We got some work with your staff and got some information on some of the users and things like that, and you can really see there's a lot of different empty buildings that aren't really being utilized, and I'm sure a portion of that is because there's no way to connect sewers to it. So I just think once that happens, as Robert said, it's kind of a build it and they will come scenario that we're all familiar with. So it's absolutely will help that immensely. I mean, I could give you another example, even that area up along 188 that we're gonna run that line on, that's gonna enable us in phase one to potentially tie in the businesses up there and the residents that are up in that area. So that's gonna help spread phase one a little bit more, right? And then when you add the other three phases, it'll all, be meshed out. The more people you get on, the better it'll be for everybody.
There are some businesses on the west side of that building, within the city limits also, I guess, so that we have an option to service those areas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right.
Like we done overall with the city.
Right. That's part of the IGA, I think, that is on your agenda
Just to discuss
to
what,
recognize and
yeah.
be that, so.
Just one more question. Phase one gets going in 2026. They start paying the brunt of, or they start paying on the loan, and then there's a lag period. So are they gonna, phase one customers they're obviously gonna take the brunt of the loan until you can get phase two into it? Is that when it's?
Well, but so the way it was laid out with USDA is the portion of the loan for phase one was established that they could handle it. So it's not gonna overburden them, right? There's more population there, there's more businesses, more EDUs, if you will, equivalent dwelling units. And so, it should, ideally, the way, again, they do their underwriting, all of that kind of works out. But then, it'll mesh as the phases go on. And then as you add businesses, more homes and residents, there's quite a bit of vacant property up there. I mean, we've had different calls that the district has for people, we want to build apartments, in Tri-City. We want to build 10 more homes in Tri-City, So I think that will continue as long, once the system gets in place. So, which is great because you need more homes, right?
So forgive me if I'm wrong, but is that Bechtel tract that's on the east side of one?
No, Bechtel Tract is up off of Russell Road, so it's south, that's in phase two.
So the neighborhood there that's next to the highway going out to the road out there, is
Yes.
that part of your district?
On
Where
the,
all those people hook up?
on the right hand, on the east side of the highway, before you get to, Wiles, yes,
Okay, so
that
that's
is in
all
the
part-
district,
So
yes.
that's all part of it.
Yeah,
So they're all
that's
going
like
on-
Menroll, and this is the main road that goes up into there, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Pastor.
Yeah. What about the Claypool? That's in phase three,
Phase one,
phase one?
Lower Miami and Claypool is basically the makeup of phase one.
Okay. There's a lot of issues in that area, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor,
Let me just,
oh, go.
let me just address that, Councilman, and Pastor. One of the things I've been doing recently is approaching residents in phase one, where we need a private easement, if you will, a public utility corridor to get to an individual's property to serve a house behind him or behind them, which is landlocked. We require an easement. And I've done this now for about a month and I've still got more to do. The two things I have found is one, how enjoyable it is visiting with the residents in the district and how enthusiastic they are about getting off of site-based wastewater treatment systems, cesspools, septic tanks. I have not heard a complaint about the cost. They know there's a cost associated with this. They're just happy to get rid of something that is failing and I talked to one individual who has a failing cesspool. She literally captures her dishwater and she goes and waters her plants with it because her cesspool is failing. The other thing I find is how very difficult some of these people have it, how difficult their surroundings are, and I just applaud them for their continued enthusiasm and they're willing to work with us.
Now, I know you had, was it Jake from Payson that was helping you guys out on all that stuff?
Jake Garrett, yes, Jake is working with us on that. Jake is really a key for us.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, there are two takeaways from this meeting, from this presentation. Number one, with their request to modify the DMA and annex in the location of the site, we were asked to update our letter of support. We had to have the letter in by the 10th, and so we did put a letter in. The mayor put a letter into the council that says we support the project, but that we have no objections to the amendment of the DMA. We also said we reserve the right to reverse that if for new information. And so I'd like to ask the council, is everyone okay with the letter that we have, that we leave that intact on file with CAG? Because if we had not put a letter in, we wouldn't have a voice at the table.
We'll take a look at the letter we'll sign. And really all it is to make sure the amendment to 208 of the site.
Of the site, yeah.
That is correct.
And leave the option open for changes.
It's very similar to the one we did this year, and I think March or May. The second, as part of the second issue or statement, as part of the package, we put in the IGA that we'll be bringing back to you in 2 weeks, unless we hear otherwise. If you remember back when this thing was stuck and the DMAs were not messed up, we're not aligning, there's overlapping. We funded the remapping of the 3 DMAs of Miami, the Tri-City Sanitation, and the City of Globe to help get these straightened out. Miami's was in conflict, but they didn't have the money to do that. My belief was that by having one surveyor do the legal boundaries, you're going to make sure that they line up, because what you had was 2 different surveyors with 2 different marks. And in that, it was a very winning moment. Miami gave up some areas that they had control over. Tri-City gave up some areas, we gave up some areas. But what happened was we aligned our city boundary with our DMA, Miami with their DMA, and Tri-City with their DMA. DMA is the control of the area. Now, we have areas in Globe that we cannot serve that are very easy for Tri-City to serve. Our costs to get to them are immense, and they're there. So the IGA that was in the packet that's coming forward lists properties that are geographically much more likely to be served by Tri-City. And that's what that IGA does. I had it in there. Didn't know if anybody had any questions. We have the experts here. If not, we will bring that back in 2 weeks with some maps and show you exactly the properties that will be served by Tri-City that are in the IGA. There's a list of parcel numbers, and we went through multiple times to make sure that we got the right numbers in there. Any questions about that IGA or any concerns?
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. Oh, Miami is not a flat place, is it? Full of hills. And then I can go to Safford, don't have these problems. A lot of land, a lot of flat land. So we have to make do with what we have, and we didn't make the world, we just have to make do and be better at it. And even back then, at the time that I was attending those meetings, I still thought it was a practical solution to situations that we didn't create. And I think you all have met that challenge. We're not flatland, we're very hilly country. I've gone around and around with a certain insurance company trying to explain to them the difficulty of dealing with certain claims that I've been involved with in my parents' house, because there is no flat land around my parents' houses. And the software used to measure and build a plot or a plat doesn't apply, because it's not flat land. It's not a Sun City subdivision, I will say that. The point is, this is the hand we're dealt. We are in hill country, mountain country, and we have to deal with the reality of what we have. And what we've done at this point in time across the region is to make it work. I like this phrase, make it work. And that's what we're doing in this particular instance. And I have no problem with that. I didn't create that past. We're here certainly in the present, and we need to deal with it for the future. So I have no problem going forward with this. Mr. Mayor.
So, look, go ahead.
Yeah, just a clarification, I guess, on DMAs, if somebody in the public doesn't understand. When we went to reline the DMAs, you mentioned that Miami gave some up to Meredith, but Miami's DMA was never in Claypool. It never was. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, Miami, just to clarify, Miami did not give up any
Okay.
DMA. Tri-City, I think, was really the one that gave up DMA because of being Tri-City trying to be, smart and regional about it. That north of US 60 along Gordon Street is one of the areas that the Tri-City gave up to the town because they've got a pipe running through it. It makes all the sense in the world, right? And then the same with the city of Globe. It was requested that the boundaries of the city be their DMA, which makes all the sense in the world. And so Tri-City, the board at that time agreed that they would follow through with that, but also that they wanted this IGA agreement because that was part of the discussions that, there's kind of an overlap there of in the district and the city and who can serve it better and with the funding that we're gonna be obtaining, we should be able to do that in a cost-effective manner.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, while there are many properties that that are geographically located to allow to hook up to the Tri-City system, there's only 2 properties that are currently served by the city of Globe that will eventually, when they're up and running, transition over there. So everybody's worried about losing funding or anything like that. There are 2 properties that eventually will transition, and they're not in the city, they're in the county along Apache Drive. So
Just one more follow-up question, I think. So the areas that are serviced by Miami, Town of Miami, they run through Tri-City's DMA right now then? Or they will with this new alignment?
No, actually, that was another area thanks for reminding me. That was another area of the DMA, which includes basically the schools and Miami Gardens and just north of the hospital. There's a little pocket there that is Miami's DMA. It was granted to Miami because they're serving that. So thank you for reminding me.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, then I intend to, we will put the IGA with Tri-City on the next available agenda, unless I hear otherwise. I see that you're supportive of that. Okay.
And do we need to, I know, I just want to make sure since I signed it, re-signed it, that we're retro that letter, that the council is okay with me signing that letter on amending the 208.
Right, we have the option to
or the new site.
Yeah, we have the option to reverse that, but it appears that the council is supportive of maintaining the letter as written.
Yes.
Okay. I see lots of nodding in affirmative. Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Council. Thank you.
I told you never give me the mic.
Oh.
In closing, I will say to you, council persons, on behalf of the board, we appreciate the good working relationship we have with the city of Globe. Your patience in what has been a trying experience for all people. We believe we are an asset waiting to be developed, and only good things are going to happen for our community, for the city of Globe and the town of Miami. Thank you for letting me talk tonight.
Thank you. Next, we have consent calendar. Matters listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to consideration of the consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. Item A, consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. One, accounts payable, $469,172.32. Two, consideration of approval of council minutes. 2A, October 24, 2023 meeting minutes. Item B, consideration to accept the grant award for number GO-24-66-05032 Arizona Public Service grant for $5,000 received through account 20-42-08998 miscellaneous. Grants secured by carry on enclosed 6-foot by 12-foot trailer for Globe's First Friday events. This is a no-match grant. Item C, consideration to accept a grant award for number GP-24-61-05033 Boyce Arboretum Tree Grant for 6 indigenous trees, 3 velvet mesquite and 3 foothills Palo Verde. Item D, consideration to accept grant award number GO-24-56-05030 Arizona Community Foundation grant for $500 received through account number 20-4208-998 miscellaneous grant revenue to support the 2023 State Fire School tuition. There is no match to this grant. Item D, consideration to accept a grant award for number GO-28-57-05027 Walmart Community Grant for $3,600 received through account number 10-40-48415 Walmart Police Department grant to be used for local events and or operational supplies. There is no match for this grant either.
Mr. Mayor. I'd like to strongly recommend approval.
Well, let me read if it wants to remove any of these items separately from the public, council, or staff.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, we had so many grants, we wanted to make sure that they were acknowledged, but we didn't want to have a presentation for each. If you do want to talk about or have any questions, we would have to pull that, but they're kind of self-explanatory and just, we've been busy with our grant team and departments looking for these funds, so.
Well, I think it just needs to be noted, all these individuals that are working on all these grants, to make these happen, police, fire, Connie's a big part of it. So there's a lot of things, whoever is involved with that. I know not these individuals, I think they have a grant team that actually works on all these. It's amazing to see all the grants that are coming through. They're not big like the large ones we've been discussing, but every one of them counts.
Every little bit helps.
That this is to offset the taxpayers' dollars. It's
Yeah.
amazing that the staff is doing this. Quite after that. So I applaud each and every one of you.
Okay, Mariano.
Just doing my job, sir. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar, sir.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar as read. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. New business, item 5A, presentation and consideration to approve grant award number GP-23-66-05016 from Freeport McMoran Foundation Community Investment Fund for $160,000 with a total city match of $32,500 due over the next 12 months, with 50% of the match to be transferred from account 10-66-51259 Economic Development First Friday to account 10-66-52200 Economic Development Capital Outlay Construction for payment of $16,225 due in fiscal year 2024, with the remaining $16,225 match for fiscal year 2025 to be allocated as part of the budget process, and request to waive section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Linda's going to talk about the goals and the achievements of the grant. Councilman Lethem will tell you that he knows who wrote the language of the agenda, and then and then when it comes time to explain where the match is coming from, I'll take over from there. Okay. Linda, go ahead.
Sounds good. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're thrilled to be able to bring this to Council and announce to the public that we were successful in receiving this $160,000 from Freeport through the Community Investment Fund. It's a highly competitive process. They've really made it hard to access this funding, and that's really so that the community impact is that much greater. And this year, we were very fortunate to be offered actually more than we applied for. That's because of the quality of our application. And this is a project that we first received funding from the Community Investment Fund back in 2017, and actually it was the first grant that I wrote. And we received $70,000, and we really thought that was more than enough to go out and do the design and engineering and the remediation of our deteriorating pueblos. So then here comes, and actually Connie can speak best to this because it's been a minute since I've touched this, but come to find out through doing the design process that we're needing more like $700,000-800,000. And that's not because of the cost of everything going up. It's just that's the state of our site. And this is really it's our biggest tourist draw in the community. We were at 10,000 visitors a year. Now we're up. I think we're going to see 20,000 at the end of this next fiscal year, and that's largely due to our tourism efforts. And so we're really excited to move this project forward, even if just a little bit. We're really good at eating that elephant, just one bite at a time, and we're committed to it. And that'll be demonstrated in the next agenda item as well. It's just kind of like it's a drop, but we are focused in seeing these projects through. So I'd like Connie to speak to our partners on this.
Partners, good evening, thank you for having me up here. Part of the list of partners, which include both school districts, Eastern Arizona College, with a couple of their professors, and the folks at Motley. They're the restorative portion of this. Also, we will be having the Tonto National Forestry Service helping us out with the timbers that are needed. And just a note with the school districts, that will be a comprehensive volunteerism component with this grant that was needed to be in the grant. So we had to put our thinking caps on and just really get to work and design something that could involve the community as well as restore the pueblos. So it'll be one heck of a project when we're done.
You mentioned our material wall, the local resource.
Oh, yes. Well, yes, I got so excited up here, I forgot. Part of the volunteer program is to locally source the river rock and the river clay, which is the one thing when I first read Motley's proposal was the one thing that they wanted to do to keep the continuity of the pueblos and the restorative process. So that's why we're locally sourcing the timbers with Tonto as well. So it's a huge project. It will be huge because we want to involve the community and have them be part of this because it is theirs. You know, the city owns it, but it is the community's asset. So that's a big part of this.
And also in bringing in the colleges, U of A, the community, the local schools as well, we plan to develop a field trip curriculum so that we're the perfect day trip away. And so we would be able to attract schools from Safford to Thatcher to Pima from the East Valley and really expose students to the amazing site that we have here in our local community that I know that I took advantage or took it for granted until we really started digging in, literally and figuratively, into the project. And I'd like to give a shout out to Leanna. She's really an amazing site manager, and she curates past studies and materials that were developed over the course of the decades this park has taken shape. And really, I think that what our city team, all of our departments are good at doing are building upon past efforts, so that it cannot be said that a study will sit on a shelf and collect dust, because we actually utilize our studies in going after grant fundings and advancing our projects to come to fruition. So I'm super proud of our team and thank them all. Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, with this 160,000, there is a 32,500 match to the city. This is a 1-year grant, and it will span the budget cycle. And so we wanted to allocate half of that grant. That would be $16,250 to come out of economic development, and then we're going to transfer it actually to museum capital to expend it, and then budget the second half of the match in the upcoming 24-25 budget cycle that way. There are some other funds that we think we can pull that from, but we're still tracking those down. We don't want to pull from fund balance, and we don't want to pull from funds that we're still not confident on. So this is a concrete way to move the money, to allocate the match, and if we find another source, we'll move that around. Any questions on the match?
We are changing the 16,225 to 16,250 to make up that 32,000.
Correct. And what I would recommend, there's another change in here. What I'd like to do is have me read the motion, and then someone, motion is read to me. So if you're okay, I'll read the technical language, and then you can just motion that. And then we're going to ask to waive the rule, because what we did want to do is move it to not economic development capital outlay, but museum capital outlay.
And we're waiving the rule because we've been accepted already.
Yes. Yeah. So and I don't think anybody else. So no further ado.
Anybody have any questions?
Comment, over the years, I was wondering who took care of this development. It's us and the community. So here we are. Gotta get to it. Thank you, sir.
So
I'd like to make just a comment on the grant itself. I think every couple of years they change the board or the team that reviews these grant processes. I was asked to be on that board this year, and obviously I had to recuse myself from this grant. But I'll have to comment on our grant team, and I really compliment, high compliments, because it's a very complex grant. You have to show partners. You have to show that it's sustainable. You have to show a scope of work. I mean, there was only, I think, three applications awarded this year. That's it. Because they were kicked out because they didn't have the right information in there. But our team, it was amazing to read. I read the grant. I couldn't vote on it, but I read it, and it was very well written, and the team that I was on was very impressed with the grant. So, that's what's getting us this money, is the professionalism that we're showing in these grants.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to read the recommended motion. Would be a motion to approve grant award GP 23-66-05016 from Freeport McMoran Foundation Community Investment Fund for $160,000 with a total city match of $32,500 due over the next 12 months, with 50% of the match to be transferred from account number 10-66-51259 Economic Development First Friday to account 10-65-52200 Museum Capital Outlay Construction for payment of $16,250 due in FY 2024, with the remaining $16,250 match for FY 2025 to be allocated as part of the budget process, and request to waive Rule 2-4-10A prior discussion rule.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recommend presentation 5A as read and as a request to waive section 2-4-10A.
Second. Motion second for approval of item 5A. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Item B, presentation and consideration of grant award number GO-24-61-05034 from the Arizona Community Foundation for $25,000 received through account 20-42-8999 Community Pool Grants and request to waive section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule.
We're back. So this is a perfect example of why relationships are so important. So Mayor and I were part of the Arizona Creative Communities grant team back in 17 when we were both new. And that helped to bring about some of the art that we see here in the community. And we got to meet some amazing people during those 3 years. And the director at the time of the Arizona Office of the Arts, and that's not the correct name, but it's close enough, and her name is Jamie Dempsey. Well, she went on to leave the commission, and now she is with the Arizona Community Foundation. And so the day of our pool opening, she called and said, "Hey, we heard about this, we'd like to come." I said, "Of course, everybody would welcome you to the party." So they came, and they were just blown away by that development. They said, "We cannot believe that this aquatic center happened the way it did, and it's in your community. And what a huge win, and how can we be a part of it?" And so they came to us saying, "Well, what do you need?" And we said, "Well, we have this beautiful empty site that we want our future concession stand to go on." And so they said, "Okay, well, we'll send you an application, fill it out, and we're gonna help you, we're gonna go shop for funding." And so this is what we hope to be the first wave, pun intended, funding to come to the city for our concession stand. And so we're very excited and honored that Arizona Community Foundation has awarded us $25,000 towards our concession stand bill. And again, we know it's just one bite of the elephant, but we stay focused and committed, and we'll see it through. No one thought we could do the pool, we did.
Right.
Yes.
Again, thank you to our team, because it was a quick turnaround. We got the application and email, handed it to Connie. I think she got it out in like 12 hours, so. Great. 2 days. Now 12 hours, come on.
Mike, you get a question?
Yeah, Linda, when we were up in Winslow a couple of years ago,
Yes.
the mayor, Page,
Yeah.
was really impressed. Did he ever come?
He did not, but I've talked to him on the phone several times, and he's would like us to visit him and take a look at what they're working with as well, and talk to their community groups and help them develop a strategy. I've shared all of our grant applications that we've been successful on, that helped us to bring the funding to the pool and how we did it. So, I mean, we were happy to share how we did it. Every community is different, but everyone has committed community members that, it was like a barn raising. Ours definitely was. We couldn't do it all ourselves, and bringing everyone to the table, and that's how we were able to achieve what we did. Thank you.
And then in relation to this funding, also the relationship between them, she's also looking into her investors also. She's looking at investing into our concession stand. So it's not only this 25,000, but you guys anticipate that we'll get more funding from other their investors. Now those relationships are important.
Oh, they're crucial. I mean, part of our meeting with her, it was Arizona Community Foundation, the Vitalist Corporation, Arizona Complete Health, and so it's all of the, and those are just, I can't remember the name of the other area healthcare plan that serves our region, but all of the area healthcare plans have community investment dollars, and it's just a matter of reaching out to them. And so she's been a terrific advocate for our community, and she loves our hometown. She has a soft spot, and so she says she is going to help us till we get it built.
It's a beautiful
facility and the view there is
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
Mayor, no comments or questions, I motion is to approve 5B as read and waive section 2.
We have a motion and a second for approval of item 5B. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? You get the second on that,
Yes.
Ms. Mariano.
Councilman Pastor.
Oh, it's Pastor. I heard a couple of say.
Mayor, may I mention one thing that Connie, I forgot? So, I'm not stealing your thunder down. So this, not only will it be a concession stand to serve the famous butter tortillas to our swimmers, but it will be a community kitchen that would be made available for, so if Rail would like to bring classes from the library to do cooking classes, if 4-H would like to, if home-based cooks who are wanting to turn a side hustle into a full-time hustle, they would have access to this community kitchen. And that's really what makes this project that much more attractive. So not only is it a concession stand, it's a full-service community kitchen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Flower shells, right?
Item C is discussion and consideration to approve number IGA 2024-0035 with the Globe Unified School District to fund 3 school resource officers in the amount of $420,000 per year for 3 consecutive years, 2023 through 2024, 2024 through 2025, and 2025 through 2026, and request to waive section 24-10A prior discussion. Chief Wells.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I will not bring up the faulty vote counting earlier. Still on that happier note. We were very fortunate that the state had allowed all schools to be eligible for the SROs. We started a very successful program a few years ago. We had one SRO that was kind of shared between the junior high and the high school. It was always the superintendent, Jerry Zinnick's goal in mind to try to get an officer at each one of the schools. And with the change in the rules this last year, it was made possible. The school did a wonderful job. We worked with them. They put together an application and were awarded 2 additional positions. We were really pressed for time. There was a lot of training. When the approval of the grants came out, we had a limited amount of time to get these gentlemen trained up through the SRO program, so we spent a lot of time this summer. In the very beginning, Mr. Jennings asked me if I would be able to fill them, and I said, absolutely, you get the positions and I'll fill them. And then the goal is to backfill those positions back on the road, and that's what we're in the process of. This is just the IGA between us and the school that outlines and governs the things that we're responsible for, providing the officers, the training that we give, and then they're responsible for paying for the salaries. And there's additional money in there that the city manager will explain to you for training and equipment and stuff for the positions. Any question?
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. For the past, I've seen the relationships develop with students and their school resource officers. They know them, they don't fear them, they consider them a friend. And now you're telling me there's going to be 3 of them in the school system. It's a wonderful thing to hear. It really is.
And the nice thing about it, they grow with them because it's going to be in the elementary school, it's in the middle school, and it's in the high school. And all 3 of them are on the same page, and we were able to put a supervisor in with them, so they have their own supervisor. He coordinates directly with the schools, and then reports back to us on any issues. And we've seen a number of incidents this year already where we've greatly benefited from having them in there, either a report of a crime or some type of special event or need and things like that. I think a lot of you attended the Globe Miami High School football game this year. It was well staffed by the Globe Police Department, even though it was in Miami, or actually in County Island in Miami.
Gotta get that rub.
They did a breakfast. My daughter for kindergarten, and she went running up to the office of the school resource officer. I didn't know where she was running. She was just running, and she ran up to hug him. It was great to see that. all these kids were running to a police officer and hugging them. It was neat to see that.
And that is a program that I would like to see sustained from now until the end of time, because it actually introduces these young kids to law enforcement early on. The reality of it is, on a day-to-day basis, if we're dealing with somebody, they're normally having a bad day. And a lot of times, our actions kind of cause them to have worse of a day sometimes. So in this environment, it's a positive interaction where you get to know the officers, they get to know you. To this day, I can be having lunch with Sergeant Boyd, and there'll be 45-year-old people walking up and say, "Hey, you're my DARE officer back in the day." So that tells us two things. One, he made a great president, and him and I are both really old.
Chief, I want to compliment you on being able to fill the 3 positions. I know when this funding came out, you listened to the bigger cities and the other school districts, and they can't fill these positions, and you were able to do that, so that's amazing to be able to fill those.
And I appreciate the kind words, Mayor, but really it's this body that's been able to make that happen. I've come to this body over the last 5 years, laid out the concerns and challenges that we've had, and you've been incredibly supportive for us to be able to backfill and grow. We've actually expanded since I've been here, which is really a good thing. And it was quite comical. I got contacted last week by a retired assistant chief from Phoenix who worked for an off-duty company that just got the contract or is working on the contract to start filling these SRO positions, 1 officer at a time, on these locations. They can't find the officers to do it. That doesn't work for me. I think that's a horrible plan. I know you want to have, now you have a security guard as opposed to a member of the school. And you don't get the long-term longevity. You do get the initial safety issues, but we're really looking for the long-term benefits out of this. And so it was nice. I mean, he was shocked. He goes, "Really, you're one of the smallest agencies in the state. You guys got it done." And so that was a big compliment for the overall city. So thank you for your support.
Were they allowed to raise the kids anymore?
No, we kind of ruled that one out. 2 broken wrists later, and a little bit of light duty work. But he is in the elementary school now, so he does have a chance. Junior hires got the better of him.
Mayor, I would make the motion to approve item 5C as presented and waive the prior discussion.
Yes.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item 5C. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, just real quick, there are some tweaks in the language that the last minute, a couple changes came through and we haven't gotten that caught up. And so what we'd like to do is not waive the rule and ask that be returned for the next available meeting, which will be on the 28th. And I want to make sure we have all the language and the payment methodology confirmed. There's equipment money in there also, and we want to make sure how that is distributed. And so actually I'd like you to ask to amend the language to bring it back, or you can waive it and approve it and say on approval of the city manager and the city attorney, and then not have it come back.
There's probably not a time crunch.
It's already been in place for 3
Yeah,
months.
we've had it in place so coming back. Either way, if you guys want to hear it again, if this group wants to hear it again, bring it back. But otherwise, I think it's just a 1 sentence thing.
Yeah, it's a couple sentences, but they want to run it back through their attorney, and so by that'll kind of create the incentive to get that turned around quickly if we.
Right. If it means going through attorney, I would recommend we bring it back.
Yeah.
So I would amend my motion then to move it forward to the next meeting for possible action versus waiving the rule action.
My second.
Yeah.
Motion second for moving the item 5C to the next council meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, council. Congratulations, John.
Action items, 6A, consideration to approve settlement agreement to CA-2024-0036 with Structural Health Preservation Systems LLC entitling the City of Globe a credit of $63,250 in liquid damages on the final community pool rehabilitation contract payment of $290,226.08. Authorizing a payment on the final contract in the amount not to exceed $226,976.08 to be funded from account line item 10-67-52200 Globe Pool Capital Outlay Construction, and acknowledging the presentation of a countersigned pool punch list and addendums.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, so there are three things going on here. Number one, we had discussed this, and we have a signed copy of the agreement to settle on liquid damages. We had in that contract $500 a day. There is a not disagreement, but interpretation issues and on whether we qualified for the full 126 because of different considerations that Structural did for us. We had talked and gotten direction to do an offer of split it 50-50. And so what this does is it waives, originally we were asking for 126,500. This allows us to receive 63,250 credit, half of that, and then releases Structural from the other 63,250. So by approving this, you would approve that agreement. The second part is, and I was not able to get back a signed copy of the punch list, but you have before you a detailed punch list of many of the things that John and I had gone over and worked on to make sure that they're addressed. Also, there's some warranty issues in there also that we have come to light. I think it's very common that when you have a $4+ million project like this, you have things. I think the one that if you have questions, let me know. But I think the one that is most important was the water that was coming into the crypt after construction. What we found was that it was sporadic. It was off and on. When they drained the pool to do some additional warranty work, the water coming in the crypt stopped. When they went to repair the trim between the gutter, stainless steel gutter, and where the liner tucks in, because that had popped out, they found that water had fallen behind the liner and built up in the bottom. When they went to squeegee that out, and get me if I'm wrong on this, John, that triggered more water going into the crypt, leaking, and it leaks through some holes in the wall that we drilled, test holes, and what we call a legacy pipe, a pipe that was abandoned but is open, and that's where that drip was coming in. So we believe that the water that was leaking in the crypt was from the missing, the popped out trim on the liner. They put that trim back in. We're slowly putting the water back up. We haven't gone past the trim line yet with filling it.
No, we're, as of today, we started yesterday morning. As of today, we're only about halfway. We're actually doing it in almost 4-foot increments. And we're monitoring, taking pictures and doing a walk around.
Okay. And so we're going to bring it up to right below that, let it sit for a while and see if that triggers it. And then we're going to bring it up above the trim and see if that triggers it. In the agreement, we have a 30-day period that if the leak happens within that 30 days, it'll trigger some of the agreement items with a third-party investigation or Natari coming back out. We still have that 30-day window to make sure that leak is resolved. That's probably the most important one. The other ones are pretty, just common run-of-the-mill, computers and voltages and things like that. So now, then with the completion of this signed and what will soon be signed, I did not get it from James in time for the meeting, punch list, then we will pay out the last 2 payments of the pool, but not the retainage. We keep a 3% retainage that we set aside, and that retainage fund, that money, about $209,000 to date, is what we hold until the punch list is completed. And so we are gonna hold back. Now, we had originally thought that we would have the punch list and then the addendums. The addendums are these 4 bigger items, mainly that are on there, and we would split that. But in talking to James, Bobby is back out there working on stuff, and we believe they're shooting for having this ready to go and the punch list completed by December 14th, which is that meeting coming up. And so they're looking at getting that, and then we can pay off the retainage. What we're paying off right now is the remainder of the contract. Now, it has an amount not to exceed $226,000, but I would like to add 2 stipulations to the motion. One stipulation that we not pay any, because we're going back and forth on reading these bills, which they bring forward the change orders and the retainage money in there. We're going to come back and explain the change orders. We have not done that to you yet on the final bill, but right now we want to get them paid. And so in going back and forth on the numbers, we're probably about 40,000 over what we had budgeted, but I'm not sure yet. And so I have a meeting with Tina, and we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to get actually Luis, Tina, Jessica, myself in there, go through the bills one more time and make sure we got the numbers right. The stipulation I would like from council is that we pay out the contracts have the retainage built into them. We want to say we'll pay out the last 2 bills, the last 2 invoices, to the extent that it does not reduce the retainage under $209,000, and will not be paid until a signed punch list, countersigned punch list is obtained.
Obviously, I deal with these kinds of things in my job, but as long, my opinion here is if the 290,000 retention.
209.
209.
Yeah.
Retention covers the work that is still left to do, then it's okay to pay out the rest.
Okay.
As long as we withhold enough money that covers the cost of the items that are still left to do. And that's really what the retention is for. So if you look at all those costs.
Yeah.
And punch list items, if that 209 covers that cost, then it's good business to pay out the rest. So.
Yeah. And that was the agreement, that we would pay out the contract price but not the retainage, the retention, and it still would result in a payment to Structural about $214,000 is by my latest calculation. So not wanting to confuse us any further.
So you dropped the 220, sorry,
No.
you dropped the 226,976 08 to 214,000 with the stipulation of not paying out the 2 invoices as long as the retention continues to stay at 209,000.
We'll hold with a not to exceed the 226 as long as we still retain the 209,000 retention. And so we don't have to state the 214.
Okay.
And then to be paid contingent on receiving the countersigned punch list.
Okay.
So moved.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
And to approve the agreement. Okay. So,
We have a motion, a second for approval, action item 6A. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Do we have any late agenda items?
no, we do not.
Second call to the public.
Shall we see?
Any online?
Let me give a quick look. Just somebody trying to sell me some products. Nothing on the. No.
Scheduling the meetings,
Nothing to add.
future agenda items, anybody have?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, the discussion about, is it home rule versus base adjustment? Yeah, I think that might be something that it may be a time to look at that. There's nothing wrong with doing it. We had a discussion with Bill Sims about that today. It is an option that.
It's going back to we just make it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think Florence just did that.
Yeah, they did after they
lost
Bob's third. Yeah.
Yeah, it hurt them.
Yeah. So, so I think that's something that we should dig in, maybe start with a work group meeting and see if now is the time to do that. And then I know that Shelley would be all for that because every 5 years. Yeah, it would be. And so we'll add that to a future agenda item. And I didn't mean to step on any other.
Motion to go into executive session. Motion made. Second. Motion second to go into E-session. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
And Mr. Mayor, there would be no further E-session. We'll simply adjourn.